backdrop, as well as being recorded by the live stream team. I think they always have that. All right. So we're going to get started with our introduction, and then we are set to begin. Hello, everyone. We are the Canadian Musicians Co-operative, a group of creatives that help our artistic community achieve excellence together and reduce the barriers to access that independent artists and arts professionals face in the 21st century. This workshop is presented as a part of our Summer Professional Development Programming series. We are excited to introduce our guest speaker for today's workshop, Feura. Blending punk energy, theater kid chaos, and stadium-sized ambition, Feura's music hits like voltage, powered by simple belief. Life is too short to make yourself smaller for other people. Fresh off the release of her debut album, Lose Your Head, the Toronto-based alternative artist is blending a reputation for explosive live performances and a message that resonates far beyond the stage. Feura has built a fast-growing digital audience across TikTok and Instagram, with a combined following of only over 180K and multiple can't talk today, viral videos reaching over 1 million views. As Lose Your Head continues to push outwards, Feura is proving that this project is not just a moment, but a statement with real momentum behind it. Welcome, Feura.
Hello, is my face gonna be pinned in this giant screen the whole time?
Yes,
Okay,
sorry about
sick.
that.
Okay, I know all good. I'm gonna take myself off speaker view because I'm watching a mirrored image of myself that is slightly laggy and it's crazy.
Yeah, that is
All
all
right.
good.
Hi everybody. What's up? We're back for another session on branding. What day is it today? It's Thursday. How are we all feeling? We having a good morning? What was our earlier workshop? Was good. Everyone looks a little scared this morning.
Yeah, we just finished our workshop on demo making with
Demo making.
with
Awesome.
Duncan Reed.
Yeah,
As many are saying, it was a banger and it was awesome.
awesome. Well, today is going to be a fun one because basically today we are just talking about kind of who you are and what you do as an artist. How many people here know what the word branding means? Like, what do we think of when we think of branding? Y'all know me, I'm very interactive, so feel free to put up your hand if you got a response.
Yeah, that, and we can put it in the chat as well if you've got a response.
Yeah, or go for the chat. Things that you are known for. What gets marketed, I'm going to assume that says. As an artist. Yep. We only have two people who possibly know what branding is. Okay, there we go. Someone else. Something that is associated with you. Yeah, these are all excellent pieces as to what branding are. I think a lot of the time when we think branding, we very much think of it as a word that is used within like the marketing world of like, what is my logo? What is my website? What is like, these are all like things that are influenced by what your brand is. Tia says the image you present for yourself that helps people identify you from someone else. Exactly. I think that's a really great description. It is essentially who are you and what are you known for? And things that are like derivatives off of that, you're going to kind of base on that overall belief. So easy questions that you can ask yourself. Today, what I really want all of you to do is rather than for me to tell you what your brand should be or what things that you need or things, of that nature. I think we already got a lot of that throughout the summer. Like, what is an EPK? Like, what is our bio? Like, these are all influenced by our brand. But what I want to equip you with today is the right questions you should be asking yourself, not to necessarily just develop what your brand is, but to already distill from what you're doing what your brand is, if that makes sense. We're not inventing something out of thin air. A lot of us, if we are artists, what we're trying to do is distill what we're already doing and potentially amplify. Unless, I don't know, you suddenly are deciding to come out with a glam rock like totally crazy, like we're gonna dress up like wizards. Okay, that might be something a little different where you need to invent the brand from nothing. However, for a lot of us today, this doesn't just reach people who are here as individual solo artists, branding is also incredibly relevant for anyone who is like planning on doing independent contract work even. So like if you are a backline musician, there are essential things that you need to be marketing yourself as. Not to use again like Ed as an example, but he's one of my band members and somebody that all of you know. But even Ed has a very unique brand as a drummer, and that even influences what genres that he's traditionally hired for. Like when you think Ed, a lot of the time people either think like DJ, pop music, and rock, and those are all part of his branding that he even presents himself as a drummer. Does that mean those are the only genres that he can play technically as a musician? No, Ed can definitely play country, Ed can play some jazz gigs, Ed can play like all kinds of different stuff, but through his branding as a backline musician, he knows what areas that he's going to target in order to, get gigs with artists. So even if you're, a classical pianist or something like that, and you're looking to get wedding gigs, let's say, we even have to think about that in terms of how we're dressing, how we're presenting ourselves, how we're even talking. Like, not that you need to change yourself, but these are all things that we need to have in mind as we're developing ourselves as a business and as a brand. And just for funsies, again, because I asked this last session, and I'm just curious. This has nothing to do with branding. I'm just, I want to see if people did this based off my last session. Put up your hand if you've registered your business.
If I can share a little bit, we do have the very small business center coming in to walk them through, hopefully, the process
Okay,
of registering their business
that's
on
fun. We
August
had it last.
5th.
Yep, yep. We
So,
had it last year. We've had it for years
yeah,
before. I see quite a few returning people. Not to pick on y'all a little bit here,
true.
but I'm just curious, based off of that last session, how many people have registered their business? EAs, have we registered our business? I know some of you have. Ash, did you unregister your business? Wow. Okay, guys, we're cricketing today. Okay. Well, I'll say it again. We're gonna have the small business center coming in. Branding is super important. I am gonna just keep stressing this every single session that I come into. These things are important. What's really important, if you haven't done it yet, is please register your business so I can take you serious as an entrepreneur. No shade, a little bit of shade. If you're watching this over on YouTube, go register your business. Anyways, because we're going to be talking about making your logos, making your, website, distilling who you are, the things and how you show up at gigs and stuff like that. But again, before you do all that, please register your business. Okay, so, some questions. What are some questions that we might ask ourselves? I've been trying to figure it out. Hey, well, you're new to the program this year, so you know what? You get a pass on that one. You're gonna have that session to help figure it out. What are some questions that we can ask ourselves to help distill what our brand might be? So we figured out what a brand is. It's kind of the essence of what makes us different, what our image is, what our vibe is. What do I align myself with? That is an excellent question. So, brand even comes down to what our values are. I would recommend for everybody listening right now, we're going to provide a bunch of questions. I'm of the opinion that when you are working on a project, the best thing you should do is rather than trying to formulate answers, you should try and formulate the questions so that you can research. This is very like university, how do I write a thesis? But it seriously works for so many different aspects of business. So, to start us off, that is a great question to ask. What else might we ask ourselves when trying to understand and distill what our business is? Who are your influences, genres, energy levels? Those are great questions. Just straight up, what is your genre is like such a great question. Too many times I ask musicians, because even when we think of like pitching ourselves, right? We have to have a really strong, clear identity. I know some people are like, well, genres are just made up and like arbitrary and I'm so unique and blah blah blah. I'm like, that's great. However, for general understanding, there are 20 billion shades of blue. However, if you are in the category of the color blue, it's still good to know you're in the category of the color blue, to give an example. What do slash should people think when they think of me? Really good question too, because we might have a perception of who we are, but that perception of who we are might be really different from how other people are perceiving us. And especially when making a brand, there's a certain level of objectivity that you have to kind of separate yourself. So in my case, Coral Picula, like my legal name, and then like Feura as like who I am like as an artist. I kind of have to have two different thoughts so I'm able to look objectively at that. Can you merge your personal and artistic identity as one? That would be less of a question I would ask as branding. Um, your personal identity and who you are, I would hope, anyways, as an artist, we want to still present ourselves authentically. I think something that we can feel a lot of pressure, especially in an industry where, like, more or less, if you're working in music, you are the product, right? That you can have a hard time feeling like having to market yourself or having to identify what your brand um, is makes it feel like it's no longer your art or it's not real, it's not you, right? I have to make a logo for basically my face. Like that's a crazy concept when we like actually think about it, right? Um, but I would urge all of you, because we are going to be doing this full time, that you don't have to make something up and you don't have to completely separate your personal and artistic identity. I think in a lot of ways, who we are as artists is just an amplified version of all of our regular things that we do with ourselves. Like for me, a big part of my branding, I got my branded hat on today. Is people think of me, they think very like DIY patches, punk stuff, that's still who I am. Whether or not I was publicly facing as Feura the artist or like Feura the at home person who's just like taking a nap, I'm still doing this either way. It's still who I am. You can think of it, yeah, sort of like as an alter ego, right? We think of like Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana, like her brand was the blonde wig and like the sparkles and that kind of stuff. You can think of it as an alter ego, and in some ways that may help you be more objective. So again, I went into this last time too, but I highly recommend if you are an artist, that you have a name that is different from your legal name. Um, Helps with your privacy, but also again for exercises like what we're doing today, sometimes it can be really really helpful to look at your brand more objectively when you're looking at it sort of as an entity outside of like the person who wipes their butt every day after like I don't know eating a bunch of milk products and having a terrible time. Like that I'm talking about my personal experience this morning. Anyway, but it does help to be able to be like, all right, and now I'm going to put my Fear hat back on and go out on stage and not think about that. Iconic. Thank you. So those are just some of the questions. Again, recommend writing those down and like actually going through and answering. And if you ever do a small business program, this is a small business program, by the way. These are all the same things that they're gonna run you through, and they will even give you work periods just to work on this itself. Um, da 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 da. I have my notes here. I'm just seeing where I'm going from this. Okay. Other questions that I might want you to think about when it comes to specific branding as a musician. Why do you make music? Really good to know that one. What are you trying to say? So, even your message as an artist needs to be clear, right? Like, when you think of a lot of rock bands, that message might even just be, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but that's still a message, right? Like, if that's your message, go for it. Um, I would urge everybody in this room to think a little bit more specific than anything that is like, I make music because I have a lot of emotions and I would like to share in those emotions with people, because that's every single artist. When we are talking about like your why, your really big reason why, I want you to try and make that really specific. You have to do some, introspection, figure out what that why is, and make it ultra specific to who you are. And you don't have to know right away, but I want you to challenge yourself to do something other than like you can say something along the lines of, I went through a hard breakup and I want other people to know what that's like, so I write music so I can connect. Sure, that's everybody who writes a breakup album. But we're looking beyond album. Like, who are you as a person? I want others to feel is another great question. What do you want other people to feel? Um, what emotions do you naturally write from? Right? I know for me, and not even just emotions, but like overall vibe, sound wise. People think Feura, they think fiery, and my music is very up tempo, so all these things work together. Did I realize it in the moment when I was making all these things? No, but like, again, these questions, as you start answering them, you're going to start noticing patterns because you're the common denominator, and those are the patterns that we're looking for. What do you believe in? Right? Even if it comes down to like religious, not just religious, non-religious, but even that might be part of it, right? I have some friends who are very like, they make Christian music. That is what they do. Like, that is even, considering that. Or just, do you like, you don't necessarily have to go fully into like political beliefs, but like, do you believe in ghosts? That could be your brand, right? Like, anything. What frustrates you? This is a really good message to getting to the core, or message, sorry, this is a really good question to ask yourself that gets to the core of what your message is. I like this one because I am a person of the belief that art is inherently political. Um, because you are being vulnerable to the world, and in a lot of ways that can be taken as such. And if you're trying to figure out what your message is, even if your frustration is, I'm frustrated that some of my exes are toxic or something like that, I don't know, it can be something as like that, that's still like going to help you distill what your message is. um and then other things too that you might ask yourself, what is associated with my look, like actual visual indicators of myself. I don't, even if you're somebody who wears glasses, like maybe your glasses are your selling point. I think of the artists like, I y'all already know I'm like a Lady Gaga fan, but like for example, Lady Gaga, when she first started making music, her problem that she had was that she looked too much like Amy Winehouse. So their fix for this, they went through a bunch of different things because she was known for the eyeliner, she had brown hair, jazz singer, and they were like, "Oh, your brand is too similar to Amy Winehouse, even though you're not doing anything the same as her." So what did she do? She dyed her hair blonde, and then if you've pretty much noticed, yeah, she'll go through like different colored wigs and this kind of stuff. Her brand is blonde hair, and she has kept that since the beginnings of her career because if, for example, for myself, if all of a sudden I just started having super long hair, that might actually accidentally destroy my career. So it's good to know these things. What are people associating with us? And it's not to say that you can't experiment or change yourself, but you might want to be aware of these perceptions earlier rather than later in case one of them is working in your favor. Again, at the end of the day, as musicians, we are the product, not necessarily the music. I know that sounds weird to say, but people want to be invested in you. People can, like, unfortunately, AI music exists. What makes you different than AI? You actually exist. So I say it, it's not a bad thing. Um, and if someone became a fan today, what would they immediately understand about you? So that's even another thing to ask yourself, because that again will get you to exactly what your genre is, what your look is, what your values are, that sort of stuff. Today, I remember we are doing media training, right? For the people who are in office, we're doing some media training work. Claire, don't answer for them. I know you know the answer. You're programming it. I want to see if they're alive out there in video land. Yes, we did interviews. Okay, obviously, if you're not in office, I'm not talking to you. I'm just seeing, I can see faces of people I know are in office. Thank you, people at home, for engaging. Okay, great. So we have two people who did interviews. Incredible. But even knowing what your values are and what your message is, and knowing all of these things, we present a brand even when we're going into interviews with the media. Because let's say they're going to take 30 seconds of your interview and they're going to play that little bit on the radio. That little bit, you better understand and know what your brand is to get your talking points out fast so that people can quickly identify you, associate you, and make the decision of whether or not they want to hear more of you, right? Um, so again, we go into the importance of these questions. How are we all doing with that? Is there any questions based off of that? Any comments? No, we're chilling. We all perfect brands, incredible. Other questions and other areas that this is gonna bleed into. Chilling like a villain. Thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate your engagement. Um, Other things that we can get quick impressions from would be Instagram, our social media, our website, are all of our different avenues where people can interact with us. Like when I think of our image, I'm thinking quite literally you when I talk to you in person and you are dressed as the artist, if that makes sense. We are at a show, I'm talking to you. When I talk to you at a show, go look at your bio, go look at your Instagram, go look at your TikTok, listen to your music. Is all of this coming off as one person? You know? Because I've seen it even where somebody has incredible music videos, great when I go see them at a show, then I look at their Instagram and it's like a totally different brand. I'm like, you make like soft folk music. Why does it look like you work at an office and that's all you do? You know what I mean? Or just pictures of your dog. I'm like, this is not adding up. Everett has a question or a comment. Yep. Yep. It is really interesting to think about. I think that I kind of think of it in terms of like how big the window is for difference within a different genre. So when I think punk, metal, alternative, like I think people associate loud with different. And the thing I would like to urge you is how many copy paste punk bands have you seen where you're like, oh, they're all wearing striped shirts? I've seen that so many times. I'm like, what is up with punk bands and being like, we're different, we're a punk band, we're wearing striped shirts, we're different, we're a punk band, we're all wearing black. It's like you think that there's because the window of what the branding is louder, that therefore there's more variation in it, and there's actually like weirdly it's just like all folk musicians wearing blue jeans, right? All punk musicians wearing black pants and chains. One is louder and less common than the other, but it's still weirdly like the same problem, if that makes sense, where people think that they're doing unique branding, but I'm like, again, you just look like a copy paste of Hot Topic. It's louder, but it's not different. And why I think that that happens as a thing, and like, you know, how do I make myself different within folk music, even though everybody looks the same? And that's where I go, it's not necessarily just about how you look, right? Like, the questions that I've asked come down to what your values are, what your sound are, like, what your, like, message is. Um, yeah, eccentric doesn't equal authentic. Exactly. And that comes off in folk music, too, or indie rock, or anything like that. The amount of times that I see startup indie rock bands. I go to a show and the guys are all wearing white t-shirts or like white dress shirts and like white or black dress pants, and they're like the cool college guys and they play rock music, and you know, we don't need to do that crazy eccentric stuff. But I'm like, there's 20 different copy pastes of you look exactly the same and your message is exactly the same, because you're not like it, you don't actually have anything to say. You have an ego that you want to stroke, right? And I already know that's like the fact that you're asking these questions. I'm gonna run off of the assumption these aren't all the same things that you're thinking. Like it's people really think in a certain genre there's this thing I need to be, and it's not about that. Like or not. It's not even about reinventing yourself, going from genre to genre. I think of, well, I'm gonna say it again, Lady Gaga, just because that's the person I know. Um, Within a genre, she's done so many different genres, right? She's done jazz, she's done rock, But her through line, and I've talked about this again, you are the through line. The message is the through line. Who you are as a person is the through line. Your own creativity. Like if you're a painter and you go to paint a sunset and then you go to paint abstract art, I'm sure I'm still able to figure out it's the same painter because you have the same fundamental style even in different genres. So as much as genre is part of your brand, it can be changed versus your message, who you are and what you stand for. Those are the consistent part. So I even think of somebody who is it Noah Khan who has like the bun, right? Like he has the bun and he says funny stuff. Like he's very sad, but like he's also like a kind of a meme lord. Like and I think that's like part of it. Or I know Claro better, right? Like Claro's brand is very much like the girl next door. I want to say like kind of like 70s vibe, right? You think of when I think Claro even versus Noah Khan. I'm not great in this genre. I'm trying my best here. I'm pretty sure when I think Noah Khan, I think dark green, right? Am I right with this? Maybe is that his color? Versus I know Claro is like a specific shade of mocha brown, even though she's come out with multiple albums and stuff. Like it's like these are things that are consistent, even that are different within this. Versus like, I think of Green Day. Um, actually think of more like red and black than just green, even though they're called Green Day. Versus I think of like um, Black Flag. Well, shoot, that's red and black too. But anyways, and I mean also red and black. Not a great example. Um, anyways, I'm gonna go back to that question. Make sure I got all parts of it. Did that help? Um, Absolutely. By the way, I think it's most helpful just for like in terms of a branding workshop. By the way, do not feel like you're taking up too much time. I actually think that like asking questions is the best way that I'm able to help all of you, especially with something so like kind of broad and like kind of out there like branding. Because again, I think I can go into like this is literally what the terms mean, but questions like this are actually like way more helpful to getting there. Um, and sorry, can you restate one more time what it was? It was something so yes, restate. Again, it's less of thinking of the two things as two distinct things that exist and you need to bridge, and rather think of it as two parts of yourself that can exist in the same body, if that makes sense. Like your values of I can use myself as an example. Like a lot of what I talk about is being queer, being like DIY punk, these sorts of things. My aesthetic could look like a million different other things. Like there are other bands that hold these exact same values, quote unquote. Probably the messaging is different than mine, but look totally different and explain that message totally different. Interesting for me on social media because if you were to literally write down line by line on paper what my brand is and what I say, and then put that next to a band that is totally different, the like weird comparison you could get to is, does anyone know like the really cringy awful band TX2? Nobody? No? Okay, never mind. Um anyways, it's who you are authentically and what you're saying, and then the way you are presenting yourself doesn't necessarily like you can look death metal and still say spread love, peace, and joy. You know what I mean? You don't have to say have blood bleed from your eyeballs and find a way to make that bridge. It naturally bridges because you are the through line, if that makes sense. Yeah, kind of. Cool. If you are experiencing the I'm not sure how to bridge how I visually look and what I'm saying, what that tells me is more that neither of those are really well developed, and you don't have a strong identity in either of them, so you think that you have an idea of what those are, and you need to bridge something that's like not fully developed, if that makes sense. Because if you have a really strong message, and I'm not talking the message of your album, the message of your singles, I'm not saying that as the message of what you stand for on your own as an artist. Let's throw your music in the garbage. You have an interview, just you as a person. What do you care about in this world? Why are you a passion to move forward with your art? I'm pretty sure if you had that well developed, you wouldn't have to ask yourself, how do I change my message to fit more my brand? And if you had a really strong visual brand and you're like, I know I'm known for my big hair. I know that like when people recognize me, they think of the color purple. And then I asked you, and like you know that strongly, and then I ask you, what is your brand? You probably, or like, what do you stand for as an artist? You probably wouldn't formulate that answer based off of what you know your look is. So what I would urge you to do is write down those questions that we started with and really get to a really clear spot where you're happy and you feel authentic with what you've written down. And that will naturally bridge it because you're going to feel so confident in both those areas that there is no sacrificing that. And if people are telling you that you're coming off as inauthentic or anything like that, then and you feel like you might be coming off as inauthentic, then you need to have self-reflection with yourself and saying, am I presenting a message that feels true to myself that I can confidently stand behind for the rest of my artist career, more or less, right? Like my values as a human. And those change over time, sure, but you should always feel conviction in them. Um, and do I need to sit down and really figure this out again? uh and the other way to just to like mention all of this, and I have some examples here of how that visual identity and values can change over time. I have my old logos versus my new logo now. um is that you can think based off of these questions that I'm asking you that you have to have the answers for all of this. And I wouldn't say that is the case, that you have to know right in this second, writing those questions down, exactly what the answer is. But you need to start doing the work now so that you can edit, make little changes here and there. And I'm talking metaphorically, not literally writing it down, going through a document, editing it. But as an artist, if you're not open to making mistakes, if you're not open to beginning to have these thoughts and explore what that might be, then you're never going to, like, we're playing a long-term game with branding, not a short-term. Sure, if you're like a company coming out with a product like a brand new drink or something, you need to have that figured out, of course, right? Like you need to have, what's the drink called, what colors are the cans, what are the flavors. But as artists, we are changing, we are people, it's going to continue to change throughout our career. um it's an evolving process that's going to get better the more that you do it. um okay, anyone have any questions based off of that spiel? We chilling? Thanks, hell yeah. Okay, let me pull this up real quick. Da 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 da. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is my current logo, but then I'm going to show you my iterations of logos that came to get here, and I'm also going to talk you through how my logo changed based off of where I was at in my brand. Now, my logo is one element, of course, of my branding. I did not fully make Pinterest boards to like show how my messaging and everything changed with everything, but I just want to show all of you like this process takes years. It's not like immediate. So we're gonna start here. Okay, this is my current logo, made by Jesse at the Co-op, actually. What do we think of when we think of this logo? What are some of the really strong, like if you didn't know me as a person, what is some takeaways right away that we can get from this logo? High energy, aggressive, barbed wire. Okay, can I have anyone put up their hand and tell me how we are getting to the conclusion, though? I love the answers like high energy, aggressive. Why does it make you feel that way? Sammy! Whoa, wild. That's the in room, yeah. Oh yeah, those are exactly very great answers. And there's a lot of cultural indicators that are built into my logo that are, we don't always have to. I think one of the best parts about art, and I think that when I can tell when somebody is like I don't want to say like a high level artist, but some of the best ways that we can build ideas is not having to actually come up with something completely unique out of thin air. Like again, I've said this before, people think they're unique, but there's too many people on this planet for every individual to be unique. Like there will always be elements of you like if we were to take it down to each and every single person and I were to put you into little components of what makes up you, none of those components are unique. What's unique is how all of those components come together to make you as a person, if that makes sense. That's the same with a lot of art, right? Like there's only 12 not 12 notes. What am I saying? How many notes are in the western scale? Is it 12 notes? I'm blanking my brain. I'm in bed right now cuz I'm ill, but anyways. um like there's only 12 notes, but we use those 12 notes to paint so many different pictures or create so many different songs, right? Or there's only so many genres of music, let's say, like theoretically, but we can combine different elements, subgenres, different melodies and different instrumentations, like to make new and interesting things. So even when thinking in the context of when I was creating my logo, again, I'm just picking things that I like. I like when I was making my logo, thoughts that came to my mind wasn't like, oh, I want this logo to feel aggressive and I want it to feel like this. What it was a natural, this is how I feel as a person and just things that I like. So one of the things that I like is spray paint, right? I love doing spray paint. So I wanted it to have that textured feel like spray paint letters that you would put. Actually, this logo, I forgot about this. This is a fun story. Sort of a little bit of a sidetrack, but maybe help for inspiration. I, as a visual artist, I love street art, and something I have saved on my phone is I have a Pinterest board of when I'm walking around in downtown Toronto, and I see just pieces of art that I like that are like tagged on a pole, drawings on the walls, like anything like that. I take a photo of it, and I actually have an album on my phone, and this logo was a reference that I sent from that album that was a photo of a mailbox that had lettering that was like pretty similar to this lettering right here and had the same cutout style. And then what I provided to the graphic designer was literally just like a list of other things that I like. I like barbed wire. I like the aesthetic of nails, DIY. I think I added like safety pins, like so many different things. I just giant list of things that I like and I know represent me. And this is what a good designer is able to create for you. Basically, able to look at you from a more objective space. So, other things that you can do when you're trying to figure out your visual brand identity is do the exact same thing. Not necessarily go around take photos of things that you like. That's unique to me because not well, it's not unique to me. Other people do it, but that's what I personally do because I love street art and that's what I like doing. But even for your own visual brand, create just like a brainstorm of just visual images that you like, including colors, textures. Like, for me, gritty textures, but maybe somebody else, you might like knit textures. You might like, trees, water, a certain type of bird. The more specific we can get, the better, because that gives us more things. So then next time you're going to make a poster or something, you just go to your list of random things that you like, or send that to your graphic designer, and like boom. Like again, that's where I'm saying your brand and your through line is your taste. You are the taste maker because you have a strong message, you know what you like, you know what you don't like, right? So to go into before any more questions on that or anything else. Cool. Of course, there are other things that we're thinking about when we're building out branding and logos. Like today, I'm going to get less into the specifics of like, is your logo readable? Is it unique? Is it, communicating, that kind of stuff. You can always do testing too. You can have your logo, ask other people what they think of it, see if your perception is the same. But that's less what I want to stress today and more about stressing how identity and what your values are building into helping you and making it easier for you to do these other marketing activities. Um, so if I were to show you other pages here, oh yeah, no, this wasn't even my first logo. Here is my very first busking sign. So this was early. So if anyone ever tells me I don't have a logo, I go, well, Canva's free, so I don't understand why you have an excuse, right? Even if you are a backline musician today, I just want to like challenge you to just try to make a logo. Like it does not have to be good. It can change. I use this logo. I had stickers made of this logo. Like this was an old thing that I used. This was an old sticker that I used, and I used to put on everything. I would recommend not just picking, like this was so early in my trying to learn how to do branding. Um, and I was, picked a random font on Canva and put like two effects on it, and I was like, boom, logo. Don't do that because the other thing you're going to realize is that other people do that when they are just beginning. And it will, other people's logos will look the same as yours. But, if you are just starting out, I'd still rather you do that than do nothing. And at the time, too, look at the colors of my brand. The colors of my brand used to be pink and blue. Like, which is not something anyone would ever associate me with today. But at the time when I was still developing what my artist brand was, what I was, what my message was as an artist, at the time I was making more like I was doing drag, I was doing like hyperpop music. I used to produce everything myself like on my laptop, show up with a single microphone. I like played multiple characters. Like it was crazy. And the brand at the time reflected that. But you can still see, even from this original logo that I made, moving into my current logo, it still has almost like a similar energy and taste to what I originally did. So that's why I say, like, even today, starting off with these small things and just getting into the habit of continuing to build our brand, we're going to keep evolving and it will keep getting better. Um, One second. Oh, Charlotte says, already said this, but how did you make your current logo graphic designer? So I had Jesse at the co-op make this logo. Jesse is great for alternative sort of branding stuff. That being said, if you are somebody who doesn't work in this genre, you really do need to work with people who are of the same creative mindset as you and understand who you are as a person. Um, and in order to find a really good graphic designer, you need to understand what your brand is so that you understand what you want and what you don't want. Otherwise, the graphic designer will just be like, I don't know what you want, give you something random. And one of the things I see all too often is people blaming their graphic designer or blaming their album or single art designer or blaming their mix engineer or blaming another artist because you weren't able to provide clear information about what you actually want and what you don't want. So even, you don't have to get a graphic designer right away. I wouldn't even recommend it. What I would recommend is start to try and experiment. I'm of the opinion that it's a good idea to learn or try to do everything on your own at least once. Learn it so that you understand what the process is like and then get a professional to do it. Because it'll help you teach like basic language and basic understandings of concepts so that you can better work with people within your industry. Even like, eventually, preferably, I would not like to be booking all of my own shows. However, it's really good and important that I've done that for a long time so that I can understand how the process works, what's realistic, what's not realistic, and whether or not somebody's screwing me over. Um, but anyways, back to the topic of branding. This was a multi-year process. I think I had this logo for like four, or no, not 4 years. What am I saying? Like 2 years before this logo. So, and this is the current one that I use. I got patches of it. I got all kinds of stuff. Um, Even moving into, asking again, what is my brand? Again, the grit textures, they reappear. This was a t-shirt that I made for myself and my brand in Canva. Y'all would be surprised to find out how much you can do on your own in Canva. I did not use AI because AI was still not a thing, like as much as it is now when I made this. But like again, this was probably like 3 years into me using Canva and starting to learn how to actually do this stuff myself. Now, again, we don't have to do this. It's just good practice. And this isn't like a t-shirt that I would sell now. I'd probably hire like a designer again like Jesse to do something. But you can get started today is more the point of what I'm trying to say here. But again, even back when I was doing the pink and blue, I was exploring using flames and different stuff and elements that are still in my brand today. Just the flavor and the taste of how I've done it is now different. Oh, and this was even a logo that I hand drew and like translated into being the logo that I used to use. Now, really interesting about this logo was actually this one was pretty well liked. There are some pretty critical design flaws with it. And this is where you might want to get into the more technical aspects of branding of like, okay, why is there an X in the middle? Is it readable? Why are there like these lines coming off? It's because I used to do makeup like that, so it was like of the same thing. But sometimes we even move and we have to be objective of saying it. Something might look cool, but it might not actually work from like a more practical standpoint. So, anyways, just wanted to show the example of how branding is evolving and changing with us. Any questions based off of those points? Otherwise, I will move on to the next thing. Cool, we chilling? Wait, why is this still screen sharing? Oh, there we go. It's because there's lag. I keep forgetting about that. Na 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 na. Okay, I'm just going through my notes here. Okay, so now that we've started to understand the importance of what branding is, and you know what, I'm curious to see, real quick, just as a challenge right now, from everything that I just went over, can everyone just go through and write like 3 points of their understanding of branding in this moment and why it's important? Theoretically, I should have like 18 responses. Oh, actually, more than 18. There's 2 pages I didn't even see.
I might jump in here a little bit here too. Um, for the artists who are currently still writing and working, we will give you a little bit more time. And then I will do like a countdown on the three, two, one, and then everybody puts their answers in the chat, if that
Yeah, I don't
sounds
even
good
care if
for
it's fully
everyone.
developed.
Exactly.
I just want like three just small little points about understanding of branding. I just want to see what level we're at here with things. All right, it's taking too long.
Yeah.
Three,
Go.
2, everybody hit the send button. I don't care if it's not done. Yay! Wow, these are some, yeah, no wondering you guys are taking a while. These are some developed answers. Good job. Logos, I'm just taking a scan through. Everybody, take a scan through. Look at what everybody said here. Some good parts.
One thing I will highlight about our artists is they never have to do something. It's always a full send. So if you ask them a simple thing, you're still getting lots of thought and insight into their thought process, which is really amazing.
The one thing that I'm noticing looking through about branding, and I guess, like, again, you guys could have this understanding, it just wasn't super well articulated in the question, but the other thing I really, really want to stress is no matter where you're at in branding, sitting down and asking questions to those very starting questions, no matter where you're at in your artist career, and having clear answers for those is going to help you like crazy throughout creating branding. When creating branding, I should ask myself these questions and then insert the questions that we started off with. And sit down and do that as a exercise. Okay, cool. That all looks good to me. Let me go through my notes here. Okay, so we're going to go through different ways that people are going to interact with your branding. Where are different places that branding appears in our arts business? Social media, nice. Website, merch. YouTube, music, ourselves, very good. Even interviews and on stage. On stage, yep. EPK live shows. Good. Posters, websites, merchandise. Stage design, yep. What you wear, absolutely. Everywhere. Networking events. I'm curious to expand on networking events. What specific elements at networking events might be interesting to understand and note? Very good, Ash. I'm actually of the opinion that genres do exist, because genres are a tool used by industry to distinguish quite literally playlisting and stuff and radio. I think radio genres do exist. However, you can be influenced by multiple. Um, that's my opinion, though. I'm like, music is fluid. It's whatever, you can play in La La Land, but as a concept, it is so real and rooted in being able to market yourself. Uh, but you can have a different opinion. That's a very controversial take. What you wear, how you present yourself. Business cards? Yeah, business cards. That's absolutely one of them. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these and how branding is interacting with them, and potentially make you think about other ways that branding is being communicated. So social media, I think that's pretty obvious. We know. Social media branding can even come down to the types of posts that you're creating. So part of a brand can quite literally be the way that you style and film videos, if that makes sense. Videos that are, let's say you're like a cake designer or something like that, and you take super aesthetic photos of cakes, and let's say you're another cake designer who's just really funny and you sell cakes because you're really funny, your brand could be more story style videos. Like, I think of, has anyone else seen, like, I'm Els from Els Cafe and I make the ice cream in Saskatchewan, and she like rides a scooter into like the ice and falls over, and like that's all that her brand is. Her brand has become this like Saskatchewan, I think it's Saskatchewan, where's she from? Yeah. Like the accent that she literally speaks in has become part of her like brand versus like a big, and like her brand is even having small local business vibes. And the part that we need to note from that, and this is where it starts to get a little more technical, is what do you think would happen if a brand like, I'm just going off on random tangents now, okay, but I'm having a good time. I hope you're having a good time. What do you think would happen if Elle's Cafe decided to sell out to a conglomerate and they turned it into a franchise, and all of a sudden all their social media was run by somebody other than Elle? Don't type it. I'm too deep in the chat. Somebody put up their hand. That was incredible. That was exactly what I wanted to hear with the echo on it. Thank you. Why would people be upset? What is it that they signed up for? Exactly. Authentic small town. I think of even what was it? Does anyone know like the tech review channel LLT? I was like watching a video essay about them the other day. I'm a giant mega nerd, so anyone who thinks I'm cool, please take me and put me down like 20 pegs, okay? I heart really long video essays. Anyways, but it was talking about how they basically, this guy was well known for being kind of like an Elves Cafe type, where he was an honest tech reviewer. He was great because of all of the different critiques that he would give, in the fact that he was very pro consumer, pro like being honest, giving the product a genuine chance. And as his company grew, we're now seeing like a mass drop off. Mind you, the guy's already a millionaire, but whatever. But mass drop off where customers now, like, he didn't just burn customers in a way that was like, oh, guess they won't buy this product. He burned customers in a way that was like, we will never engage with your business for now and forever always. And how he ended up doing that was the beginnings of it, there's so much to it, but released a backpack where he had said over years and years and years of being pro consumer, being pro customer, being like all of this stuff, would complain that other companies did not have warranty, and that is anti-consumer. He then went and released a $250 backpack, his first product, and it had no warranty. And that's the part where you have to be aware of what your brand is. Because if your brand is Amazon and it's fast, cheap, and we're going to send it to you, and you release a backpack with no warranty, sure, nobody cares, right? But then you release a backpack and you have no warranty, but you've been calling for years, and that is the antithesis of what your brand, message, identity, everything is. Elle's Cafe sells out. Oh no, and becomes a conglomerate, and now everybody is Elle and making scooter videos. All of a sudden, everyone hates her, and you've burned those customers from ever buying your ice cream again. I know this sounds like doomsday-ish, but like, you can screw over your brand identity pretty fast. Let's say me, Feura, I decide to. One of the brand deals that I've been offered a lot, and I'm sure that a lot of beginning artists will begin to get, is Temu, right? Has anyone else got like a Temu DM that's like, we'll give you free Temu stuff, you just need to promote on your website? And sure, some brands can get away with doing that because their audience doesn't care. The other one that I got that was a much larger deal was Sheen reached out to me, and they were doing a collaboration with Warp Tour, and a line of alternative menswear slash like gender non-conforming clothing. And they gave me a very good quote for how much money they would give me. They gave me an excellent quote on how much free merchandise I would receive. That being said, I know personally, like, aside from just brand, personally, I would never wear Shein's clothing just because I do have like one or two pieces that I got from the thrift store, but I would never directly give them my money. Instead, I'll give it to Value Village, who is just a conglomerate of Walmart, who is a bigger conglomerate of. We're not going to go down the line. If I start thinking about it too much, I'll cry. But you know, I feel at least somewhat better about myself. You know, my audience would totally feel betrayed, and I might potentially burn people. That is in a way, if I'm talking strictly from a branding standpoint, of no longer able to trust you forever, now and always. Yeah, exactly. Totally against whole thing is DIY and upcycling. And again, you might be able to get away with it if you're somebody who's more like Hello Kitty, like chill, like we love Miniso and buying cutesy things, and you do a deal with Timu. It's like whatever. We already know you like microplastics. Like nobody cares. What about Alibaba? That'd be crazy if they asked me to do a brand deal. Um, okay, I'd even say where you choose to perform as well. Absolutely, that is also part of it. Okay, so we're starting to understand all of these things that are acting. So we're gonna move to other things that other people mentioned. Anyways, that's even social media, right? Tia, I would love to learn more about what you mean on stage as part of branding. Really good question to ask. Very good thing to notice. I will actually make a point of that real quick. Some bands, part of their brand, I guess, is wearing other bands' t shirts and stuff like that. Hey, if you're friends with the band and you want to wear their t shirt, like, pop off. The other thing I will mention, though, is all too often, if you are in a band right now or are a backline player, this is relative to branding, but also, like, not but also is if you are online seen with a t-shirt with a brand that isn't yours, by wearing that t-shirt, that brand, that thing, whatever it is, you need to be okay with tying whatever their brand values are, what they're known for, to yourself. So if you are wearing a Marilyn Manson t-shirt, you better be okay with what Marilyn Manson stands for. Hey, if you want to do that in your personal life, go off, pop off. That being said, when we are showing up as the artist or things like that, we need to be aware of these things. And it's so true because even when you think of major artists like Olivia Rodriguez, Olivia Rodriguez, Olivia Rodrigo, I'm it's hot, okay? It's hot, I'm sweaty. My brain is operating on small amounts of liquid. Um, Even things that are like, she shows up one day holding a water bottle that is like Adidas branded. Everyone's gonna buy that water bottle. I know it sounds small now, but I'm prepping you for as your business grows and grows and gets bigger that we need to be aware of these things. Because if you think that that is not intentional or something, 100% it is. There's giant brand deals that are just based off of holding water bottle. Like, it's ridiculous. But even, like, you know, if you are going to wear a branded t-shirt on stage, you need to be okay with whatever that brand stands for being on your body. Um, and even think about that. When somebody wears a t-shirt that they bought from you, what is that t-shirt saying about that person? That's another exercise you can do. I know when somebody wears a Feura t-shirt, they're very much saying, I'm part of the DIY culture. I am part of supporting small music. I am support small brands. I am part of, like, being grunge, alt, alternative. I know that is what the brand identity is when they wear one of my t-shirts. Um, Or even when I wear my own t-shirt, because, you know, if you're going to make them, might as well wear them. Other things on stage too. It's even what we talk about. You know, are we making time in our sets right now? Um, and this comes down to like a staging thing. Are we introducing every song right now by saying, this song is called Farting in the Wind? And then we play Farting in the Wind. And then we say the words, thank you. And then we go, and this next one's called Pissing to the Sun. And then we play the song Pissing to the Sun. And then we say thank you. Like, from that, okay, maybe the song titles are interesting, so that's giving us some branding idea. However, are we making space in our sets to even communicate what our artist message is? I make it a point in every single set to have something to say that is representative of what I'm bringing us. Like, it's different if it's an audience of like people that are married to. We talk about relationships, like your audience, like what level of relationship are we in, the dating phase, are we in the married phase, are we in an audience where we're on like a first date kind of thing. You know, we're gonna tailor our messaging and what they need to know about us, even to the words coming out of our mouth, right? Other thing too, to ask yourself, uh, put up your hand if you are an artist. You identify clearly as a artist, or you are a band. You are a lead member of a band. Great. Keep your hands up because now I'm going to pick on you. Um, okay, I don't know La Channel Wood. Where did you go? As soon as I said that, you put down your hand.
Lachlan. It's Lachlan Wood.
Oh, sorry, multiple people talking at once. Sorry, how do I say your name? Oh, Lachlan Wood. Okay, Lachlan, what do you do? Are you a solo artist? Okay, pitch me in 2 sentences. Or give me your pitch. Has to be under 15 seconds. And the what? Sorry, it just glitched. Okay, so what I got from your brand is that you make experimental music and uh, you focus on the autonomous. My brain too stupid for whatever you said. Um, okay, from that statement, I don't understand what your values are, what you stand for, or what sort of energy or anything like that. So, again, even when we talk about what our branding is, every single person who has their hand up right now, you need to be able to give me a really clear, very, very clear picture of what your brand is in under 15 seconds. Because I can't say we're on YouTube right now. I gotta be good. Um, Sometimes you will have 15 seconds where somebody will literally, I've had that at networking events before where I ended up getting hired for like a music video thing. And they came up to me and they said, "You look interesting. Who are you? You have 15 seconds." And I was like, "Okay." And in 15 seconds, it wasn't even just a matter of like, here's my genre and this is the thing I want people to know about me. It's even how you speak about yourself and like what sort of language you're using. Um, I will give you my example afterwards. Alinea, pitch yourself. Here we go. That was better. That was sorry, I'm not trying to compare people here. That's so cruel of me. I'm just trying to bring awareness because, like, look, when I first even started making music, mine was just like, my name is Feura. I make hyper pop and I have two mohawks. Like, that was my brand, right? Like, that was it. Um, that was better. What I want to challenge all of you to think about, and I think this is the part where I think people think branding, they think very literal, and this is where it feels less authentic and less clear of who you are. Because all of you are creatives, but you describe yourselves as if you are a product list of like ingredients, if that makes sense. Of like, okay, now I'm going to read how many calories this food has, and it has iron in it, and oh, it has some B12, that's good. Or bad, I don't know, it's an energy drink. Anyways, um, we speak very almost scientifically about ourselves. I think one of the best pitches I ever heard was there was a clip of Youngblood on a live stream, and he has a fan like walk up to him, not a fan, somebody who has no idea who he is, and sees him like signing records at like a shop, and he's like, "Who the f are you?" Right? And Youngblood's response in like a second's notice was, "Okay, so imagine that the Arctic Monkeys and Kings of Leon are." I'm quoting him, so YouTube, you can suck it. Um, Arctic Monkeys and like I forget what the other band was. Arctic Monkeys and like Kings of Leon are having sex with each other, and Justin Bieber is filming it. That's my music. Like that's literally what he said. That is way more effective immediately to communicating branding than like just, and it also is memorable, right? And that can only come out of a place of having absolute confidence in what you do and understanding of what you do, because otherwise what we're doing is we're trying to like pitch together a bunch of things that we think other people want to hear and then like putting it together, if that makes sense. And it doesn't even matter if he likes the Arctic Monkeys or not. He understands what the cultural context is, and he understands what that's going to say to people. Like, it's such a good creative way. And of course, other things that we should mention is like, I'm from this town, this is my genre, and if you want to know what I do and what I'm like, this is my vibe, right? And right away you knew like sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? He stands for other things too, but even in a pitch like that, we want to think about those things. And based off of that pitch, I actually built out my pitch, which is the one I use on the radio all the time. And it immediately gets like laughs always. It's always how I get in good with the radio host. So this is where it comes into like, hey, you guys are doing your media stuff right now. You better know this for your branding. I have 15 seconds to communicate to the audience what it is, what I do, and why they should why they should care about me. And my pitch as of right now to combine together my audience that I know is Gen Z and what music I know they listen to, plus like other audiences would also know and like combine together into their brains, is I say that I am the product of if Youngblood and the artist Pink, we all know Pink, shoved forks into a electrical socket at the same time and then zapped into one person. That's me. And every single time I have that pitch like nailed down and I just give it. The radio show hosts probably know Pink more than they know me exactly. And then they also, like, younger generations understand who Youngblood is because he's been all over the freaking media lately for rock genre, anyways. And then right away they know, okay, well, if it's electrifying, it must be a lot of big energy, that kind of stuff, right? And that's the clip that they use in my interviews all the time to start it off. And that's the clip of right away. I know what my brand is, I know what I do, and I could only write that sort of conclusion if I had really strong confidence in all those things. It even comes down to I understand my visual brand identity. Pink, I like Pink has the short hair and is like the rocker. Wishes everyone wishes she was a lesbian. Let's be honest. She has that like one quote. If anyone else knows this, where she like says, "Guys, I'm gay," and then like the whole audience like goes nuts. If anyone knows the clip I'm talking about right now, and then she goes, "Actually, no, I'm not." And like it's like this iconic clip. Anyways, so like they equivocate that, and then like the Youngblood was like that edgier sort of wearing black and rock and roll and that kind of stuff more. Because if I said, like, Mick Jagger, I think in the current times, that probably wouldn't work great, right? Although I do love Mick Jagger. But anyways, I'm just challenging you guys to understand, like, again, these really deep understandings, how we come to things. Any questions based off of that? This is, like, I'm going on a lot of tangents, and I hope it's painting a picture and making sense. You can put your hands down, by the way, unless it's a question. I just found out she wasn't. Oh, and Alinea said, would you use other artists' reference in your IRL 15-second pitch? Absolutely, because it helps give cultural context, right? And don't pick, like, a super niche artist that nobody knows except for, like, you and their other 20,000 fans. 20,000 sounds like a lot, but, like, for example, I said TX2. I thought that everyone knew who that was because I get the cringe clips, but, you know, apparently not. Mel. Do you have a question? No question? No questions on any of this? We still chilling? Sick. Okay. I already did those. Like, I'm sure you guys have already heard this over and over, but, you know, consistency is really important. We've already kind of talked about that. Um, Based off of examples of what I gave here, I would love for if anyone has an example of an artist, really big artist, that we can go through and talk about what we associate with them. Somebody just, like, list an artist that, like, everybody would know. What counts as big? Everybody would know. I have no idea who Zara Larson is. Okay, an easy one. Dude, I don't know. Am I that out of the loop? I'm sure everybody knows who, like, Billie Eilish is, right? Does every single person know who Billie Eilish is? Is there anybody here who doesn't know who Billie Eilish is? Great. What do we associate with Billie Eilish? Let's do look first. Alyssa, I feel like you're pulling my chain. You definitely know. Okay, green, baggy clothes, oversized t-shirts. Anything else? Dyed hair, backwards hats. Is she vegan? We're just doing look right now, so just give me the look. Edgy. The blush thing. Eyeliner. Does she wear eyeliner? I don't know. Okay, but clearly there are, like, very clear... That one lip stain. Yeah. Okay, we're not doing vibes right now. We're just doing... Just streetwear. Chains. Okay, nice. So, as we can see, there are certain things here, like if Billie Eilish suddenly stopped dyeing her hair altogether, that would probably not work out well for her brand, right? That being said, you know, there's all of this stuff, and even through what people associate with her look being, she can still predominantly do that, but I still think of, like, when she was doing the Barbie movie era and she was coming out with that song, she did, like, the soft girl look, but it was still Billie Eilish. It still had that Billie Eilish edge to it. And afterwards, she still kind of went back to doing what she's known for, right? And you can have different eras, that kind of stuff, but it's good to know that this is what people associate with her brand. And I don't think Billie Eilish started dyeing her hair necessarily in the way of being like, oh, this is what's going to get me famous, or doing the backwards hat. Like, I do think those were authentic to her. I do think that doing the dyed roots, she probably did notice that that helped bring her up in fame. So good chance she kept doing it. And again, just good to make note of that. Eyeliner, yeah, streetwear, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the baggy clothes. Someone mentioned earlier, but her eyes are part of her brand too. Yes, they are. Having blue eyes. Nobody cares about brown eyes. But it's weird everyone cares about blue eyes. I will not say more. Anyways, beauty standards are interesting. Everyone trusts that one pick of her, the sunglasses. Yep. Good thing to know about these with your brand too, because hey, maybe down the line we want to come out with a product line. We want to come out with, brand deals, stuff like that. Good to know what people associate with us, because probably a good idea then, hey, we can make hair dye. Hey, we could sell t-shirts. We're wondering what merch we should sell. Maybe we should sell, backwards hats. I mean, that's just a regular hat that you could put backwards. Okay, about Billie Eilish herself. Aside from the look, what do we associate with her? Angst. What do we mean by angst? Very sad. Yep. Gay. Soft voice, head voice. You know, it's really interesting. Just, I am biased because I am a singer. Um, our voice is so part of our brand and how we develop our voice. And, you know, one of the classic things that you'll see is there's certain people who are so good at singing to the point where they can sing everything that they actually lose how to have a unique voice. Has anyone else ever seen that before? Where there's certain like people who are so good at singing that they don't actually have a unique voice that they sing in. There's like one guy I follow on TikTok and he like is incredible. He can do an impression of everybody. Then he does his own unique singing voice and it's so bad because he has such a deep understanding of how to do every voice that he tries to invent a voice that is not like the other voices and it just comes off as weird and inauthentic. Anyways, very gonna keep talking. But that again, for our instrumentalists here in the room, the way that you play your instrument, the clips that you choose to post, again, like not to keep using Ed as an example, but if Ed starts suddenly only posting clips of him playing jazz, that's probably bad for his brand. So we need to be aware of these things, even for our instrumentalists in the room, or what like tones that we're dialing in for posting videos, this kind of stuff. Important to know. She was homeschooled. Yes, an important part of her brand. Outspoken, fan connection. Phineas. That is actually such an important point to make. Phineas is so much part of her brand. You can't help but wonder if her brother was not part of the narrative, would their story as the dynamic duo of we're just brother and sister growing up, like her story of how she grew up is part of the brand, right? So I have a million stories about myself. Just to, again, this comes into how we're talking on stage, how we're presenting ourselves, what we're saying to the media. Um, I have a million stories of what I can talk about when it comes to my artistry. I can talk about the fact that, like, well, when I was, like, in grade 4, I wrote my first ever play after going to, like, a kids' camp and, like, going to my first ever theater camp and, like, I learned what a play was and then I wrote a play and then, you know, that was my original start in music. Nobody cares. Like, no, nobody cares. And it's not to say it isn't true, and it's not to say that it didn't contribute to my artistry. But again, if we are thinking about as we grow as artists and as we do more podcasts, talking, whatever, that kind of stuff, people are going to want to know about these things. People are going to want to know about this on your social media, right? That kind of stuff. But when we're going into what's in our bio, what is the immediate through line story that people connect with, in her case it was being homeschooled and it was, you know, having a brother she's really close with because everybody goes, oh, isn't that adorable, it's so cute, her and her brother just made music in their room. Not to mention the fact that like her family is deep into the music industry and it definitely wasn't just her and her brother. Like, let's be honest, like so many people were involved definitely in making that music, right? Like there's no way, like who did Phineas learn from, who were his influences, like who was giving them, like nobody cares about that. They want the broader, what's the feel good story, right? Or what's the connecting story and this sort of thing. um like important parts to be aware of your brand and what you're focusing on and choosing to, in your, let's say, first 15 seconds is your pitch, other 2 minutes is, you know, tell us your story about how you got into music. Because I swear if I hear a single one of you go, well, I started making music when I was 8 years old, and I started learning how to play the piano. And then when I turned 16, I joined a choir, and then I make music. I'm like, great. Like, give me something unique. Give me your, what is that thing, you know? Because we all have that thing. And again, it's not that those components aren't true, but like, what matters to you? What is the thing? Anyways. Um, Let me go through real quick. You can do more of these, like just to go through some that I could think of. Um, Charlie XCX, club culture, internet, Hyperpop, green aesthetic with Rat, right? Taylor Swift, storytelling, eras is part of her brand, putting Easter eggs in freaking everything, being hometown girl that everyone can quote unquote relate to, Cats, right? Turnstile, hardcore, freedom, skate culture, looking like an everyday Joe with the sweatpants, but also swaggy as hell, doing backflips, being edgy. Like, we can go through and do this for every major artist. So again, do it for yourself. Um, this is a good question, and this is a good activity, actually. Can somebody give me examples of weak branding? What makes for weak branding? I've given a lot of examples, but I always think that it's easier to point at something that's really big and really strong. But what is other points of understanding what is weak? Inconsistency, messiness. Yep. Fake. Casting too broad of a net. Okay, here's a fun game we're gonna play. Remember how I gave the example of what every punk band or every indie rock band looks like? Can someone give me examples of what every... I don't know, somebody pick a genre first. What is a generic what is a generic pop brand? Give me like an example of like what a generic pop artist might look like who doesn't actually care about what they do. If anyone wants to put up their hand, it's probably easier to describe this. Blonde, bright colors. Again, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing to have. Hypersexualization. Well, hypersexualization is just the music industry, so oopsie poopsie. Dixie D'Amelio. Kinda only being based on trends. That's a good one. So choices, clothing topics, yeah. Anything else we can think of? This is how I know people haven't been going to enough local shows. Lack of depth. Okay, I'm going to give you two messages right now, and you tell me which one is better than the other. They don't talk about politics. Okay, having a brand... I know I said art is political, and I stand by that. Your brand doesn't necessarily need to be political. If you are a pop artist and your brand is... I get heartbroken by boys all the time, that is a legitimate brand. And I think of... Or, like, Ariana Grande's brand is, like, high-key man-hopping. Like... being a homewrecker. I think she just is. But, still a strong brand. Like, just because it's that does not mean it's not strong. What sets apart Ariana Grande from, let's say, Ellie Jones, who makes pop music about boys who breaks her heart, and she shows up, and when she talks on stage, she goes, "Hi, my name is Ellie. Anyone else here get sad? Yeah, I just want to make music for people who also feel sad, because sometimes we get broken up with, and it really hurts." Are we starting to... This might be a terrible exercise, I have no idea. But are we starting to, like, understand what the difference is between that and, like, some mega icon like Ariana Grande, even though she kind of fundamentally says all the same stuff? No showmanship? Yeah, that's part of it. A lot of Sabrina Carpenter lookalikes. And again, it's not... If you are authentically Sabrina Carpenter, which I doubt you are, trying to copy what other people are doing all the time will lead to lacking authenticity, and people can see through that. Sometimes it works. High key, those artists are really depressed, though. There are some artists that I'm not going to say who they are and things like that, but I will say they're very successful, very successful. They still want to die. And it's because every day they've built a brand of things they don't actually care about. They built a brand off of things that they don't care about, and now they have to stand for it every single day of the year. And that's all people want from them. Um, okay, we kind of, train got a little derailed. Bad exercise. I'll work on it for next time I run a workshop. Okay, I have 23 minutes right now. You can either ask questions, get my opinion on your brand, if you have a website you'd like me to look at, or social media, or anything like that. For branding purposes, right now, questions are great if you have any, or if you would like me to review something, give you feedback. I think it is good to do with everybody so that we can see my process and how I go about understanding and looking at things. Or even a bio you want me to read, or something like that, and I'm going to tie it into branding. I don't have office hours right now because I'm incredibly busy, so low-key I'm just doing it right now. Not to say Tori isn't incredibly busy. She is also incredibly busy. And has office hours, so use them. Sammy! Yep. So when developing your logo, what specifically about logos would you like to know? Are you attempting to develop your own logo right now? What the purpose of the logo is? Like, what is the thing? So first thing I would get you to do is all those questions that we started at the start of the session that we wrote down the notes for because all of us are straight A students and take notes. We're going to answer those questions. We're going to sit down. We're going to think about it. What is our message? Who are we? What are our values? That sort of stuff, right? Um, we're going to look at the answers to that. We're going to write down things that we visually like, things that we visually don't like. And then we're going to take all of this and we're going to go to Canva. We're going to try to make something on our own. Just, get used to what that process is like. Try to make something. Experiment with what colors do you like? What colors do you not like? Uh, what design elements? Also really good. Make a Pinterest board of other band logos that you like, or not even band. What other company logos you like, or what art pieces you like. It's even helpful if you're like, this is my favorite visual artist who makes abstract, weird circle paintings. That is actually weirdly helpful. Make a Pinterest board of things that you like. Start to distill what the patterns are out of that. Make a list, and if you're gonna go to a graphic designer, have that ready. Research your graphic designer, understand what they do and what they don't do. For example, if I go to a graphic designer and all of their clients seem to be metal logos, and I'm looking to get a soft folk logo done, probably best I talk to a different graphic designer because what their portfolio shows is what they're going to do. Then I'm going to take all this. I found my graphic designer. I've done my consultation, and you can give it to them and have them design your logo. Or, if you're just at the beginning phases of just doing things on your own, you're going to go into Canva and you're just going to experiment and try it out. That's what I did for my first logo. You can even draw it by hand, see if you can get an idea. Or even you can ask Susan. Susan is a great graphic designer. And she will be so incredibly frank with you about what looks good and what doesn't. Susan, I have had her look at my stuff on multiple times and be like, what do you think? And if she tells me it's bad, I usually look to do something else with it because she's usually right. So there's people here that you can ask for sure. Does that help answer your question a little bit? Sick. And then once we have that logo, we put it on literally everything. Yeah, I even have it on my water bottle because I lose them all the time. Okay, any other questions regarding branding or things that you would like me to look at? Hey, if you have a logo right now and you want me to look at it and give you feedback, I can do that too. I lose my water bottle a lot too? Hell yeah. You know what? I have a rule. I refuse to buy water bottles for myself because I lose them all the time. And if I do buy a water bottle, I usually get it from Dollarama. Alinea.
I think it's just a new showcase called like the main thing I'm hoping to get out of it is how because like and also I guess when we're picking up the strut the truss and the blade and I guess the other mice
Can you show me the logos?
it'll be like 2 days out.
Uh, or you can share it to me on Slack and I can show it there. Or if you have a website and you have examples, can you send me your website just in the chat?
How you feeling, mate? Living the dream there, mate. I don't know what else to do to sound Australian, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, you gotta. This is the one I know. Ranga. Macca's.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to Macca's. I went to Timmy's. That's starting to get into Irish there. Or what else? Shapes. Shapes. Oh, bro. Shapes are big. The Vegemite shapes. Yeah. Oh God, Vegemite.
Using your first name isn't a problem. Like, so your legal name is Alinea Allen, and then your artist name's Alinea Jade, right? That's already.
Most of them are like different. Like they have
Oh,
different beads.
yeah, but like when you're at home talking to like your parents or whatever, I would say that's on the line of like okay. Again, it comes down to what you're expecting and as you grow, what you're gonna be okay with, because it's gonna be interesting because you're probably gonna have the experience where people are gonna be like, oh my god, hi Alinea Jade. People like nobody says, oh my god, hi Chapel. Like people say Chapel Rowan. Like people say the whole thing, so you're already gonna know from that. But the thing is, when you go home and are you just okay with people in your life calling you Alinea, or is Alinea going to become work? If that makes sense. So that's the only reason why. If you're okay with that, keep it. You know what I mean? Already Alinea Jade is different. For me personally, I know when I go home, I like when I tell you, if you want to do this full time and your job is to do this full time and you are CEP too much, oh, too many hours, I want to go play video game, I want to go to a gig, guess what? Not to burst your bubble, but currently I'm working like 3 jobs. So like, and that's every musician, right? Like, I'm sure other people in this room right now are doing multiple things for their career. And if you're like working 12 hours a day is too much for me, 3 days in a row sometimes, find a different job. And I know after 12-hour days like that, the last thing I want to hear, and this is on YouTube, so hopefully people aren't skipping this section. I love being Feura. Sometimes I don't want to be Feura. Like, I want to go home and I want to curl in a ball and play my Switch and have nobody refer to me as that for as long as possible until I have to go do that again, right? And it's just a matter of like, when you go home from work, you want to feel like you're not working. So again, if you're cool with when you go home and people still calling you Alinea and that kind of stuff, go for it. You know what I mean? Plenty of artists do that. It's more of a matter of what you need as a human as this job grows. Um, Honestly, I love when people call me Alyssa or just Alyssa. I think my parents name me well, and that's why I go with it. Go with them. LOL. I will put into perspective again that it's gonna start getting different if again you are doing this full time. I'm sure Tori has given warnings about this before, but it is so incredibly real that you are one day gonna go from chillin', like nobody knows me, to I have been stopped multiple times on the subway while absolutely sobbing because I got bad news from a doctor. Like, and you have to be ready to when someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, hi, Alyssa," and they know everything about your life because they looked you up on Wikipedia and they listen to your music and they are a fan. And I will say it again, sometimes it is the truth that people are not, you have a power imbalance. and you have to be able to put on the hat that is the um, Alyssa that is public facing, if that makes sense. So sometimes it's helpful when someone comes up to me and I've just been sobbing on the subway. This is real, by the way. Sobbing on the subway because I got bad news from my doctor regarding diabetes. That somebody goes, "Hi, Feura," and my brain immediately snaps into, "Hi, how are you doing?" And it's helpful. Like, it's to be ready for that. Pretty much every big artist I know has some crazy story like that. You can ask Tori about it. I know for a fact she also has some crazy stories about that.
Something like that as a kid, you'd have these like I don't know what they're called, but they're like a roll like a straw base. You have like biscuit exterior, chocolate interior. You drink your milk through it, and you eat the
What is happening right now?
Oreos did something like that.
There's like a whole bunch of cereal ones.
Oh, sure.
Fruit Loops for sure.
Ooh. I don't even know who's
We
talking
can hear
right
you
now.
now, Josh. Sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry. There we go. It was so laggy. I was like, what is happening?
So dry. Really? No, usually.
Oh my god. No. Do you
Um,
want to
Here,
write a
I
message?
can sort of translate the message.
Okay.
Um, Josh needs all of his artists to head back into the main room to meet with him. Um, because there's some things that needs to be discussed before the end of the day. Um,
Okay.
as we sort of get close to wrap up too, I might actually say, um, we've got kind of one more question, and then we may have the sort of next 5 or so minutes to just have them do their feedback form before we head out.
Yes, I was like, can I please not end on that note? That would be
Yeah,
nice.
no, totally.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and a reminder to Josh's cohort, you are going back into the daily co-working, not the breakout rooms here. Is that
Cool.
correct, Josh? Yes.
Oh my
Okay,
god, I'm getting
awesome.
cold.
Yes, you guys are leaving the meeting. Sorry about that. Hopefully, the person that I am stealing this question from that I saw that I think got missed in the chat is still in the Zoom meeting. So they've asked, if I'm in a band and I still go by artist name, but my solo I'm gonna try that again. I apologize. If I'm in a band and I still go by my artist name, but my solo stuff is a bit different from my band stuff and branding, how should I go about branding myself? Do I combine the two together, so to speak?
That's a good question. I would say band branding usually is different than solo branding because if you are like a band and you're doing multiple things together, you should collectively need to agree on what your branding is. And that's why I talk about like from a solo artist perspective, but you know, if you are working in a group setting, sometimes a band is kind of like one person leading it, doing a thing, but you have to think about in a band, every single member is part of your branding. So each image of each person in the band, like I think K-pop does this really well, in a way that they're hyper aware of how a band branding works, and they kind of cast characters in a band. So your band branding should likely be different than your solo branding, because even in a band, you're branded as one product, so to speak, not literally, like, but one act. Versus you as an individual, you need to figure out who you are and what that singular just yourself is. So thank you for not having me end on the question of just anyways you're gonna be crying on the subway. So yeah, think of me next time you have a mental breakdown.
Oh, goodness. Well, hopefully no one's going to be having any mental breakdowns here.
Yeah, there
So,
you go.
as we sort of wrap up, I'm going to just say some closing remarks. And then to our artists, the Zoom chat should contain your feedback form. It has also been posted in the announcements Slack chat, so please be aware of that. And on behalf of the Canadian Musicians Co-operative, we would like to thank you, Feura, for sharing your expertise, knowledge, and resources. For anyone who's watching this live from publicly, we have more workshops planned during the summer season, as well as our Barns to Beaches showcase on which Feura is involved. You can find more information on our website, www.canadianmusicians.coop. That's COOP. Thank you so much, and everyone, for joining us. And thank you again, Feura, for your wonderful presentation today.
Thanks. Bye.
You can stick around a little bit longer. The audio team will be taking care of the final showcase stuff. So thank you so much once again. And to our artists, please make sure you're doing that feedback form. There we are. Perfect. Thank you, Ava.